Live from the heart of the Blue Ridge, Roanoke, Virginia. It's the Just Bernard Show with host Bernard Alvarez. Join Bernard as he shares topics that reveal the real matrix and empower your human experience, including world liberty, the esoteric, suppressed technologies, spiritual ascension, and human consciousness. Humanity has awakened, and our time has come to realize our full potential. And now, live from the Star City, your host, Bernard Alvarez.
Welcome to the Just Bernard Show here on all of my many social media platforms as well as my website. Thank you for joining me today, everybody. Today I've got a really special guest. They're all very special guests, but this one happens to be very special to me personally as well as professionally. Ambika Devi is going to be here with us in just a few moments. We're going to be talking about igniting Devi's going to be here with Magick. So I think all of you are really going to enjoy that. But with that being said, let me just catch up with some of you and say hello to everybody who's watching. We will be in the chat room, or at least I will be in the chat room talking with you, and make sure you say hi. Anyway, it's been a crazy week, hasn't it, right? We went from Samhain into the election, and all these other world events seem to be going on. And I've got to say I'm very impressed with what I've been seeing on social media. Yes, you know, we've always got a few little people bickering back and forth, and the news is bickering back and forth. But last week we did that really good, really powerful meditation for peace and compassion. And it seems to be, at least within my little corner of social media world, it seems to be helping. And it feels like more dialogue is happening and more civil discourse is happening. So I really appreciate that. And I thank you all for being so civil and being so compassionate during this great change that is occurring around the world. So thank you for that. Anyway, so it's been a great week, and I'm really glad to be here. Of course, I'm here with Ambika Devi, and Ambika Devi is one of the first people I met when I started at the Gray School of Wizardry. She's actually the person who brought me in, and I forgot what's the word we call when you, train is the word, but there's a word for it. I can't think of it. Anyway, she is my mentor there. And she's many other things, though. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Ambika Devi has multiple degrees in different fields of study, including a master's in yoga and meditation, a bachelor's degree in astrology and fine arts, and has appeared on the Learning Channel, radio, and in periodicals as a relationship and communication expert. She taught holistic health at the university level for 21 years. She is the Department Dean of Psychic Arts, Divination, Professor of Psychic Art and Divination, Instructor of Natural Philosophy, Magical Practice, Psychic Arts, Healing, Divination, Lifeways, Math and Magic, and as I said earlier, she is the Dean of Faculty at the Gray School of Wizardry. So, Ambika, thank you and welcome to the Just Bernard Show. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Bernard. It's such a pleasure.
Well, I have been meaning to do this for a very long time, and I'm so glad that I think this is going to be my goal now, to have one person from Gray School at least once a month.
I think that's a great idea.
What a pool of talent that we have there, and it'd be so great to be able to share it with everybody. But anyway, I'm glad that it's you today.
I'm glad it's me today, too.
You have inspired me. You've taught me so much about the Gray School, as well as all the other work that you do. And I'm sure that everybody would be really interested to hear how you became Ambika Devi and do what you do in today's world, Ambika today. How did we get from A to this brilliant metaphysician?
Well, I think my first big step was when I was 6 years old, and I switched schools from a public school to a private school because I was having a really difficult time reading, which is ironic because then I became a writer and a publisher. I really do believe that sometimes those bumps that we hit that we think are really opposed to our path, as we turn around in hindsight and we look at them, we realize that we wouldn't change a thing, that we would continue going. And ultimately, when we look back, we're actually grateful for it because this is what led us to where we are today. So I went to a new school that was Quaker, and I'd come from a public school. So this was a whole different thing for me. And every Wednesday morning, we would go to meeting for worship. Now, that's what they called it, but it really is silent meditation because usually there's nothing being spoken, not really much action, just sitting quietly for an hour. So can you imagine 6-year-olds sitting quietly with all their peers and the older kids in the school for an hour? And that became a comfort zone, a sanctuary for me every week. My mother later got into yoga. She went to a yoga class and took me with her as a child. So I got to experience that. And my favorite part was the end of class when you lie still on your back and close your eyes and just drift. So meditation really was my initiation and is still the passion topic that I teach and talk about. When I was 7, my mother had been taking me to a bookstore every week. That was our creative date, every week. And once a month, I was allowed to choose a book. And on this particular day, I wandered out of the kids section and into the back of the regular, bookstore. And I walked to the back and I pulled something off the shelf and held it. And my mom came and found me and said, I don't know, and put it back. And took me back to the children's area and said, yes, this is the day you get to pick something, but don't you want to pick something from here? And I went back, did it again. She followed me when this happened a third time. And on the third time, she decided to really look at it and see, what is it? What did this child take from the shelf? And I remember it was a black box. And it was wrapped in cellophane. They didn't use shrink wrap back then. And I can remember the feel of it. And it turned out to be a Rider-Waite tarot deck with a book. And the deal was it had to be a book. So the fact that it was a deck of cards, well, I was satisfying our deal. So she bought it for me after making sure that was what I wanted. And she said she watched me when we got home and peeked through my door, and she watched me unwrap it and take the cards out and put them on the floor, fan through the book, stop and pause, put the book on the shelf, and then just sit down on the floor and start playing with the cards. And it was as if I already knew what they were for. And she was an incredible mom. She always supported me, even if she didn't really understand what it was about, and she let me make mistakes in my lifetime. And she also really encouraged me to be who I am. So she always supported me, and she did get to see me be a part of grade school. She just died last year, and so she did see me become the dean of faculty. So that's kind of cool. That is. And she got to partake in my first 3 books. So I'm really, really grateful for that. So I attribute it all to her.
Wow. That's wonderful. It's very wonderful. It's so helpful when our parents are supportive of our strange, weird journey to through the veil, let's say. I
guess for me, it didn't really seem that strange,
Right?
It just is who I am. I mean, I can remember even being a littler kid and seeing fairies and dragons and drawing. I was always really into art, as you mentioned, I went to art school, and she was always really encouraging of that. And I had my own art space as a little kid, and she let me do some crazy things. I mean, I got to play with soldering irons and things that heated up and fire.
Oh,
You know, maybe things that most parents won't let your kid do. And later, when I did teach high school and junior high for a short stint, before I went on to teach holistic health, I decided to entrust my 7th and 8th graders with hot glue guns. And the faculty went nuts and told me I was crazy. Nobody got burnt. And everybody made amazing things with that hot glue gun. So I have to say, if done properly, we can experiment. I guess it's kind of like with kids who build things out of, you know, electrical circuits or chemistry sets might, you know, go through too.
Right. Very cool. So, Ambika, you are you cover a lot of topics in your work. I mean, you do coaching sessions. You're a public speaker. You're a professor and teacher and a dean. So there's a lot of subject matter that you cover. But one of the ones that you do focus on is on igniting your intuitive magic, which is what we're talking about today, which is why I wanted to bring it up and use it as our topic. What is intuitive magic?
Intuitive magic to me is tapping into your intuition. And I feel that the easiest way to access this and also really understand it and believe it and trust it through all of your senses, which is key in the beginning of what I teach, is through meditation. And so for grade school, I've written a major in the psychic arts department using meditation as the medium.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So people think meditation is only sitting still quietly. That is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. But that's just one level. When we can get into a state of lucidity and function in the world in that non-choice or non-attachment state, then I believe we get away from the clutches of the ego mind and are then able to truly tap into intuition. So this is really important for divinators, as you know, because mm-hmm. this is something that you participate in and also teach. Mm-hmm. So it's really important for us to understand the difference between, is this the ego talking, or are we really tapped into the unified field of possibility?
Absolutely. And boy, you know, I love the divine timing of all of this. I got up this morning and of course, you know, I jump on social media and the first post I see was about intuition. I'm like, well, isn't that just fine? We're talking about that today. And it said, there's no greater shortcoming. We all have intuition. We just don't trust it. That our intuition is always working, with that we just don't trust it and we don't want to listen to it. So what do you say to those of us, and I do with clients as you do as well, that ask the same thing. When am I using my intuition? I don't know when it's my intuition.
Well, if you have to ask, you're not using it.
Good answer.
Simply put. This is why also what I've done to the psychic arts department is put the idea of the senses and sensing in the forefront in the very first class. And I expect a lot of my apprentices to really give me more and more and more when telling me things. Because first of all, if you're on a path of study, I want you to be able to talk to me about it as if I don't believe in it, I don't even know it exists, and I want you to convince me that this is real. Now, how do we as human beings trust things? It's through our senses. And another thing is, most people don't realize that they have 3 levels, or what I see as 3 levels of sensing. One, I think you understand, it's your gross senses, meaning a part of the gross body or the flesh body, which is sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So if you're using the word feeling repeatedly, how do I know? What are you feeling? Feeling through what? Which sense? And I want you to tap into that sense, because that's going to give you a sensation which you can then use as an anchor later on. So maybe you get certain sensations when a particular event is about to happen, or you're performing something. This could even apply into sports and performance art, creative expression, music, all kinds of things. Then there is a level of super sensing. This is still related to the physical body. However, it's heightened. Now, the way to understand this is think of a chef who can smell a spice and know exactly how much to put in a recipe without testing and going through that. And there's actually a trick you can do, is if you take, like say you're making a soup or a stew, if you take a spoonful and put it in your mouth and smell the spice that you're thinking about using, you'll know whether it works or not, because sense of smell and sense of taste are interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind, Bernard, how many people are completely out of touch with scent and taste. It's epidemic that people are completely disconnected from this. Now, it makes sense. A lot of it has to do with atmosphere. You know, if you're living in a city and you're breathing a lot of pollution, you're not getting outside and walking in nature and getting good, clean oxygen. I know when I lived in the desert, there wasn't the same level of oxygen or moisture in the air as there is here where I live in Florida. You know, big, vast difference.
Oh, yeah.
And it's absolutely amazing how that affects your senses of smell and taste. And then hearing also, I don't think people really listen to each other as well as they potentially could. And so super sensing of hearing seems to kick in a lot when people become parents, because they can hear their kid, you know, down the block or in the other room, or they're fast asleep and they hear something stir, or they know something. So parents get that heightened super sensing a lot. And then there's the psychic sensing. I think everybody's in such a rush to get to psychic sensing or being precognizant, you know, knowing when something's going to happen, that they're missing out on these other layers, which are really, really important.
Absolutely. And boy, you just laid out 90% of my students and clients as well. But I want to be able to see this. I want to be able to, I'm like, well, there are steps to get to that. You got to go through the mundane to get to the spiritual. But what about those that, let's say someone's watching today that they have a very heightened sense of spiritual intuition, and kind of like what we mentioned earlier, they're getting that spiritual nudge or shove. I call it, I get shoves. I don't get nudges. Universe likes to shove me, and my guide shoved me. But a lot of people, it's a little more subtle, and they ignore it because they're like, oh no, well, that can't be real. You know, they ignore the spiritual sense, like we were talking about earlier. They just don't trust that intuition when it's literally yelling at them sometimes. How can they overcome that fear of trusting their intuition?
I think that takes practice.
Yeah.
I really don't think there's any kind of snap or wave of the wand, you know, that can produce that for you, because we learn things through repetition and pattern, and we understand and believe them when we get a full bodily felt sensation of it. This is really true in meditation. I'd say more than 90% of people that come to me wanting to understand or learn meditation have preconceived ideas about it. They think that it's focusing and gathering information and bringing it in and pulling it out. And it's not. It's nothing. It is nothingness. It is complete emptying. It's merging. It's leaving the boundary of the physical body. And that takes practice and patience, because especially to get to the blissful kind of feeling, you know, if you're struggling, if you're not comfortable sitting or whatever posture you're using, which is why I really recommend that people start with guided meditation, which is really a relaxation practice, you know, and learn to relax and sleep sleep better. That's a huge issue. And the strange thing with that is no two people are suffering or experiencing the same hangups or challenges. So
it's an individual path.
Yeah, it really is. And that's why I really love teaching the way we do at Gray School, where we have one-on-one and we can just focus in on what is that one apprentice working on, where are they at. And I don't lay it all out in the beginning. I want to see what you come to the table with first.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you a bunch of feedback. It's pretty rare somebody gets a 100 from me the very first class.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. It blows my mind. And it's like spotting a rare bird or butterfly, But
again, I bet you that also comes from your intuition, seeing their potential, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, I want to see, are you lazy? Yeah. Are you willing to really detail it out? I mean, I give you information when I welcome you into class and tell you, I want you to really, journal a lot about this, much of your notes into your essays that you're giving me. Right. But it's really interesting to me how many of us say, well, I just feel. Well, how? Like I said, I want you to prove to me, as if I don't believe this, I don't know that this exists, and I want you to explain it all out to me. And I think this is really important for so many aspects in life, because we get into these habitual patterns, but do we really know why we're doing it, And are we really feeling everything? I think if we actually slowed down, we would be able to make better choices in life about what to eat, what to drink, when to exercise. If we really knew how to slow down and listen.
Yeah, listen to our body, listen to our spirit. If you're not hungry, don't eat.
Yeah, actually, that happened to me yesterday.
It's been happening to me lately.
I just wasn't hungry, yeah. And then today I was. So, I started making some different dishes. Yeah, it's so important to just slow down enough to listen.
So how can we, once we get the hang of our intuition, how can we utilize that to create magic? Do you see this as a tool in formulating some type of magical working, or formulating some kind of intention process? Or like me, as a ceremonial magician, we're taught that the goal of a white, quote unquote, white magician is to have that, conversation with our holy guardian angel, which is basically our higher self, our divine self, and live our life allowing that to be the channel that guides us, moment to moment, day to day. And at least that's been my goal over the last couple of decades. Do I do it all the time? Of course not, but I try. But that seems to be the goal. Is that what you mean? Allowing our intuition to create a magical life, or using our intuition to create a magical working, or a little bit of both?
Oh,
or none of the above.
I think, well, intuition is super important in all aspects of life, because it is part of our decision-making process. And if in the case of ceremonial magic, you want to be able to pick up subtleties and have your eyes open to see if, during a particular moment, sparks happen on a candle, or maybe a vision happens and you're scrying, and to really be able to trust it, I feel that the psychic arts are super important, because all aspects of magic are dependent upon us being able to sense all of these things at all these levels, in the gross body, in the super sensing, and in the psychic senses. Now, in mainstream life, if you're working for a company and you've got to make a decision, or maybe you're on a team that's trying to develop something, well, my gosh, then that's where intuitive magic really comes into play, because it's a really big part of ideation. I mean, where do these ideas come from? How do you tap into them? And we look at it historically and retrospectively in great inventors. I mean, let's look at Albert Einstein, one of my favorites. He would just stop and play violin. He wasn't a great violinist, but this took him out of maybe a certain sector of his brain and into another area, which helped him with his formulas and calculating. Or great inventors, that create objects that now we can't live without, like light bulbs.
That's true. Where does that all come from?
Right.
Divine inspiration and intuition.
Yeah, I really think inventors are the top of the pack because they're trusting their intuition. They have an idea and then they're going with it.
You've struck. You gave me an aha moment, and just saying that, going back to at the beginning of what we were talking about, trusting our intuition is allowing ourselves to fail. Just like an inventor will screw up over and over again until they get it right. When we feel that intuitive urge, who cares if it's your intuition or not? Just try it, and that way, you, like you said, then you have like a base of what to compare. Well, that definitely wasn't my intuition, or maybe that was your intuition guiding you down a whole new path of life, for all we know. But it's just a matter of doing it without worry, not fearing failure, I guess is a better way of saying it.
And how far off from dreaming is that? I mean, is dreaming any different? Yeah. I've been pondering this about, astral projection comes into play in the psychic arts and as a topic. And sleep has obviously been a topic that I've been interested in recently. And I really think that the deep trance state of meditation is not that different from dreaming or sleeping. And because it's the body fully resting and the mind awake and aware. So, tell me, people, where do you go when you sleep? Are you still in your body? How do you know? Give me some proof. Do you leave? Do you astrally project? Give me some proof. Tell me some stories. I want you to ask yourself questions like that so that you can then find more information about it. Because we all have this opportunity to tap into the unified field. All this information is there. And people talk, I love trending words, downloading, we're computers, right? And, and is that any different from what early human beings did? Reading the signs of nature and knowing when to migrate or, I mean, all of this has to do with intuition, right?
Yeah. Observance and intuition, absolutely.
Yeah,
mindful observance of our intuition might be a good way also.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about sleep, and I know that a lot of people I work with have a very difficult time sleeping, and you are just now putting out, is it a course to help people overcome insomnia, and does it help with their mindfulness and meditation as well? Or do we use it to help them sleep?
It's definitely to help people sleep and to get back to sleep. When I set out to do this, I wanted to really help light sleepers get deeper sleep. People who have a hard time getting to sleep, get into deep sleep. And I found that there's also a big portion of people that get to sleep easily, but then they wake up between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m. and they can't get back to sleep, and that's really frustrating for them. So, how do you address all of that? And then another thing that was quite obvious to me was breathing was a big issue. And if we look at how a lot of sleep issues are being treated and diagnosed, it is also very much a part of breathing. Mm-hmm. So coming from a yoga background where we use breath for many magical processes, including how to get into a deep state of meditation, I thought, okay, I'm going to use some breath work that's easy and safe, because some more advanced breath work is not safe if you don't work your way up to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't ask your body to do that. And then guided meditation, because I already knew through teaching that for many, many years that people fall asleep, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I tell my students and clients all the time, if you fall asleep during guided meditation, good. If you need to be somewhere before you go into a session, set an alarm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're using it to go to sleep, then it's a little bit different, because you don't want to bring them back out. If you're leading it or creating some kind of recording. And then beyond that, I'm a light sleeper. I'm a really light sleeper. Things can knock me awake, and I've put it to good use. I remember when I was writing my first book, it would wake me up in the night quite often. Sometimes poems do, or I have a dream and I just have to get up and write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned things about my environment and what works for me. Also from traveling. Now, of course, I'm not traveling this year, but in the past, traveling, how to make a foreign space, a hotel room or somewhere else, comfortable so that I can get a deep night's sleep. So I mix all of this together, and then I even throw in a little bit of my training in hypnosis with the guided meditation to really make it pull you into deep sleep. And I call it a course. Well, it does have a lesson every day. It's a 7-day course. And I call it End Sleep Envy. And so I asked these insomniacs, how much time per day can you spend on a class? They said 2 minutes. I said, really? Wow. So I said, well, what's the most you'll spend? Well, maybe 5, they said. So I tried to keep the daily lessons, including the breathing technique, into that time frame. Okay, I went over a little bit. But they're under 10 minutes, I promise. And then I give you an audio of the breathing technique to practice. Once you see the visual, you don't need to watch me anymore to practice it. I'd actually rather you would close your eyes. And then a guided meditation at night. So I give you different guided meditations, and they are quite different from each other, because another thing I found is the same thing doesn't work for everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
So each day has that. And then when you finish the course, you get some bonuses. And there's a few little bonuses sprinkled in along the way. I've gotten really good feedback for it, including when I was editing the audio tracks of a couple of the guided meditations, I actually fell asleep.
That's the best feedback.
So I thought, wow, that one really works, because I was having a heck of a time staying awake for these 2 tracks in particular. So I guess those are the type that really work for me.
Yeah.
And
that's wonderful. So is this out already?
Oh, it is. It is. And
okay.
yeah, you can find it at End Sleep Envy. And also ambikascoaching.com, which will lead you to a codex of material. So all of my sessions, my coaching sessions, astrology, and courses, and a blog that has a lot of free stuff on YouTube. So there's tons of things to play and experiment with there.
And for my viewers, Ambika did a little special coupon code for you guys. Tell them a little bit about that.
You'll have to remind me what the code is. I think it's Bernard Helps You Sleep, right?
Bernard Helps You Sleep, yeah. It'll be in the description.
Right, it'll be in the description. It's Bernard Helps You Sleep, and it's all lowercase because it is case sensitive. And you just use that coupon upon checkout. So if you go to End Sleep Envy or ambikascoaching.com, you'll see the End Sleep Envy course. And just like a regular checkout, it's just a regular coupon, and it will instantly give you a nice chunky discount on the course.
But you have to do it before the end of April 2021.
Right. We made these sensitive to that.
Yes,
so hopefully you'll give it a try. It's a great gift if you have insomniacs or people that are light sleepers. It's a cyber gift. It's easy to give. You don't have to
those
wrap
are the best ones right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ambika, we are out of time, but besides the sleep course, tell them, please tell our viewers a little bit about where they can find more of you besides grayschool.org. We are both there.
Absolutely.
And we can go to ambikadevi.com.
That's my CV. So, if you want to read more of my bio and branch out to the other sites, like for instance, if you're just interested in astrology, there's a site that's just dedicated to that. But the coaching site has pretty much everything on it. They all kind of interconnect. And then on YouTube /Ambika Devi. So if you can spell my name, AMBIKA DEVI, then you can pretty much find me everywhere on the web.
Wonderful.
And then on Facebook, it's Consult Ambika, and I have several Instagrams, but love to see you there on Consult Ambika on Instagram too.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ambika. You've shared so much information today, and I'm so grateful you were here. And yes, we're going to have you come back and share more wisdom with us.
Yay. Yes, we can get into a particular topic.
Yes,
it's such a pleasure to be on your show. And
Yes.
I'm so grateful to have you on our team at Gray School, Bernard.
I am grateful to be there. And I'm grateful you're there too. Thank you so much, Ambika. And everybody, I want to let you know that next week we are going to be discussing, I don't want to call it the art, but I guess it is the art of mourning, for lack of a better term. How to deal with loss of a loved one, loss of a pet. We're going to have a wonderful author and speaker joining us. I will give you more info on that in the next few days. So I will see you all next week as well. Please remember that my new course actually just came out last week. It's the Awakening Code, Inner Alchemy for the 21st Century, and it covers everything. It's a 5-hour course. You will learn everything from meditation techniques to how to contact your spirit guides. And of course, we cover a little intuition. And you can find me at bernardalvarez.com. If you are a regular viewer of the show, please consider becoming one of my supporters on facebook.com or on Patreon, and soon on YouTube. Anyway, everybody, I love you all very much. Have a wonderful week. Thank you, Ambika.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Still in on your back and close your eyes and just drip.